What's up, everybody? It's Kevin here from Social Nostra Podcast Network. I'm here with my good friend and host, Steven Basita, with the podcast Get It. What's up, Steven?
Hey, how's it going?
It's going good, bro. And hey, listen, everybody. This week we're going to go through some questions that we got through our mailbag. We get those now and then, and so we're just kind of piling them all up, and we're just going to read some off and go with it. So, Steven, here's one for you. What's one thing you wish you knew ahead of time? Because you talk about your business, right?
Right.
What's one thing that you wish you had thought of, figured out, knew ahead of time before you started any of your businesses?
So there's actually, I guess the biggest thing for me was I wish I would have just had a better understanding across the board of advertising, marketing, and branding. And
oh my God.
And it doesn't matter whether it's, social media or paper, just as a whole, because everything is driven from advertising and marketing. And really the best way to say it is this: you could have the dumbest idea, but if you know how to market and advertise it correctly, AKA the shake weight, it made over $100 million in profit. Okay. Over $100 million in profit. But you could have the best idea. And I know some guys who had amazing ideas, but they didn't know how to market and advertise. They ran out of money and they had to close it down. And so because of that, that's a huge thing. Like, you have to be able to understand marketing and advertising. And if there's no understanding of it, your business can't survive, especially in today's time where you have so much social media presence. You have all these different things going on. If you can't market and advertise, you don't know anything about it, you're dead fish in water. You're just not going to survive. Church,
yo, as Jesse from Breaking Bad would say. Church, yo.
That's right.
Hey, man, I'm totally with you, because that's the same thing for me. Like, so I've had a few different kind of career paths as well. And, as a creative type, you think, oh, if I just build it, everybody's going to love it. And they're going to buy it and use it or whatever, right? Same principle, the services model too. And it's like, no, especially now with so much noise that's out there. Yep. I feel like if I was talking to my, 18-year-old self or whatever, I'd just be like, hey, dude, it's great that you're really, creative and stuff and thinking about things, but dude, you got to get the word out and be a super promoter, because that's basically what it takes.
Most definitely.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Next question. So, what is something most people seem to misunderstand about you? I'll go with this one. How about, I think for me, it's the fact that I'm kind of this big, burly kind of guy. And so when I communicate, I tend to be a little bit like direct with people and just to the point. And a lot of times it's just like cutting to the thick of it. And I think for me that I am misunderstood in that it's either taken as like arrogant or, insensitive, or I don't know. That to me, I think is probably the biggest miscommunication, when in fact, I'm probably one of the most compassionate, empathetic people that's out there. So
I actually get that. But let me ask you this, to expand on that question. Do you think it's because people in general just don't like to have, or maybe their communication styles, maybe the way it is today, people just aren't direct? Like, they'll go through kind of a 10-minute ordeal to get to the point that could have been made in 10 seconds?
Well, definitely. Like, I really find myself relating well to like New Yorkers and like people who are just like, like boom, 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 whatever, F you. Like, those are my people, man. Like, I can speak fluent New Yorker.
Yeah. It's funny because my wife's a New Yorker and her whole family, so I love the comparison.
Yeah, exactly. So, I think that a lot of it too is that we have such a huge society of overly sensitive people now that when you don't take the time to either figure out what people are thinking, saying, hurting, whatever, to their liking, then you're seen as that kind of insensitive person. Whereas for me, I kind of just tend to cut through all that stuff and get to the meat of the matter. That would be my biggest misconception or misunderstanding. What about you? What do you think people misunderstand you the most?
That's a great question. And I think it's different per, like, you know, am I in my basketball world? Am I in my fitness nutrition world? Am I in my business consulting and like world? Or am I in my dad mode? I think that there's a lot of hats that I wear. Let me rephrase this. I know there's a lot of hats I wear with different stuff. So it would pertain more to that individual group. But, you know, as a business owner in general, I would say that the misconception a lot of times is that I only care about money. When in fact, I could care less about money. What I care about is being quality service to each person on an individual level. And I care about each person on an individual level. And when people see that I care so much about their problem, knowing that I have these things, they really are surprised and shocked and happy. And that's why my businesses continue to grow. I've always taken the Nordstrom effect. I'm from Seattle. Nordstrom's huge there. It started there. And the Nordstrom effect is, I love the best quote ever. You can take snow chains to Nordstrom's and they'll take them and give you money for them, and they don't sell snow chains for tires. So they always have this over compensation for the customer. And in doing that, they've built a mega business.
Well, I can tell you a funny story there, actually, because I tried taking something back to Nordstrom one time, and they're like, yeah, we don't carry these, so we can't return them. But, and then, but to your point, though, they gave me like half store credit or something, because ultimately I ended up buying more shit from them because they gave me a little vig to go and start shop. Genius, right? Like that's why they're so successful. So yeah, I get that. Along those lines, what do you think is the best way? We get this question all the time. How can I be on your network? What do you think is the best way to get into podcasting? Like, what do you think right now is the best way? Because it's obviously becoming really hot.
And I love that you asked this question, because you're right. This is a question we get all the time, individually, through the network. And man, and it's funny because now I've been getting people reaching out to me to be on their podcast, and I know you've seen a couple of them. But, to the point of what you're asking, first of all, one of the things that, and I've said this before on podcasts and with you when we've done stuff, one of the things I loved about what you presented to me and bringing me in on this was the idea of having real people being really interesting and really informative about stuff. And I love that concept because I can't tell you, most podcasts are just to be goofy, and I feel like, I don't know, there's a disconnect with a lot of them. I really gravitate towards the ones where they're like giving you real information. I don't have to wait a full hour to hear it, right?
Right.
I'm getting it. And so, as far as people, be whatever you're great at, right? Find something that you're great at. And if you're a kid, then be, I guess, really great at being a kid or whatever kids are interested in, right? Like, there's some people that they have these massive YouTube followings and all they do is play video games. But millions of kids play video games, and so they watch this stuff. But, really, it just goes back to, like, what are you great at? What do people like about you? And then creating a niche in that, because everybody can't be everything, right? And people aren't going to listen to you if you're, I would say, all over the board and you don't know what you're talking about. For us, I'm almost 40. I've got basically 20 years of experience behind my belt. And when you asked me about podcasting in the beginning, I was like, dude, I'm waiting until I release my book, which I knew would be a while, right? I'm still in the middle of it. I think I'm on chapter 6 right now, or chapter 7. But I'm really glad you got me into this, because this has been one of the most amazing platforms to, give people stuff. And I'm getting constantly messaged on Facebook or on Instagram. I actually had somebody that has the same name as me, spelled, the Steven is spelled differently. But he reached out to me he's like, hey, I looked up my name, I found you, I saw your podcast, and we've been talking a little bit through Facebook now. But it's very interesting, the concept, and then for us and what we've done. But for people in general, like, you're right, we've got people that are always hitting us up, and every person that Kevin has ever sent me, I've gone and I've listened to, I've watched. I go on their Instagram, I go on their Facebook, I go on their YouTube channel, and I listen. And there's definitely, look, I can't relate to everything. I'm going to be honest. Like, there's certain things I just can't relate to. But if your podcast is gripping me in some way, I'm going to tell you, and I've said, hey, look, I love these guys, or I love this person. Like, what they have to say was amazing. Like, go for it. But then there's other ones where it's just kind of like, it's not really like in our niche or our kind of forte. It doesn't do what we're trying to accomplish. I'm sorry for the background noise. We have a washer that it sounds like it's dying.
No, it's fine. Let me dovetail on what you're saying, because I think it part lays into what my thoughts are, and that is, we get, like I said, we get a bunch of people, and if I haven't gone back to you about something, or if it's just not a match or whatever, my apologies. At some point, we probably will have the capability to bring in everybody, but right now we're being super honed and focused on content that is real and interesting and real interesting, right? Like, and it's not to say that people's content isn't, but that's really what I would be focusing on if I was starting up a podcast right now, because there's literally going to be 1 billion podcasts out there. And how are you going to differentiate yourself ultimately from those other folks, right? And the way I see it is that if you don't, there's probably 3 legs to the stool. One is you have to be super interesting and have something to say, right? Some topic, some niche, something or whatever. 2, you have to do it consistently. You have to do it all the time, because if you really want to get people engaged on what it is that they're after, you have to feed them. You have to keep giving them the same, as much of that stuff as possible within reason, right? I mean, every TV show out there takes breaks and everyone is accustomed to that. But that being said, it's not like, you watch one episode of Breaking Bad and then you don't watch one for 8 weeks, right? Well, so there's a thing. Now let me just finish. The third thing is promotion. You have to be willing to get out there on Instagram, Twitter, whatever you're going to be, whatever your audience is really dialed into. And really it's Instagram right now, as far as the podcast world goes. If you're not working those 3 angles super hard, it's going to be a super hobby, and you shouldn't expect a whole lot, because you're not good or anything. It's just because that's just the nature of the marketplace today. That's my take.
Well, another question to you is going to be, and I'm sorry I didn't mean to cut you off, but we live in a fast-paced world, right? And do you think a lot of people just give up really quickly because they're not getting what they want as far as their version of like follows and stuff?
Oh yeah. I mean, look, dude, I spend a good chunk of my day, whether I'm working and I'm actually working on social Nostra, or if I'm working like in the jacuzzi, smoking a cigar and drinking, scotch or something, I'm still researching everything that's out there. Right. And I see a ton of stuff, whether it's the stuff that I'm curating for our viral videos, or if it's looking for new podcast talent or whatever. And the thing I see all the time, and dude, I see this consistently, is that there's the hot chick or guy, right? They do their little butt exercise routine. They put it out on they put it out on Instagram and expect 1 billion followers and be like, I'm an influencer now, aren't I great? I see that so much, and that's an oversimplification, but of a general theme of like, I just do this one little thing and that's that. Like if you watch or listen to Gary Vee or any of these people, you have to grind seriously to get your audience, and you don't have to spend a whole lot of money, but you do have to be consistent. You do have to go after it. So
that do this too. because you are the man that makes the magic work for Social Nostra. For those that don't know, Kevin doesn't do a lot of shows, but that's because he is the man behind all of our shows, which is Bleacher Blums, Beyond the House, Get It, which is my podcast, and the others that are in this network with Neil Nanda and a couple of other people. And you're the one that makes the magic work, right? We all do the podcasts and send you our shows or record our shows or whatnot, but you're the one that does it all. So how many hours a day do you think you spend on promoting and growing? And also, something to your credit too, and I want to just say this because I think it's very relevant to our conversation. Social Nostra started in March. We have over 70,000 Instagram followers. We have over 13,000 YouTube subscribers. We have 50,000 people following us on Twitter. We've got Facebook. You did all of that, right? So we're sure I've added my 2 cents and helped where I can, and I'm sure other people have too, but you're the one that's done it. So how many hours a day do you think you spend growing it?
Well, let's just put it this way. I still have to put food on the table, so I still have my consulting work that I do, and I have Social Nostra. Now, when I first started, it was just me, and then it was you, and then it was Bleacher Blums, and then it was Lauren, and then it was Neil, and then it was, a few other folks that aren't with us anymore. And at some point, I was like, holy crap, I could literally be doing this 24 freaking hours a day by myself, of course. But I mean, whether it was, editing shows or curating up the teasers and all that. I mean, there's a lot of work that goes in with creating a brand that's consistent that you put out there. So let's just put it this way. Like you with your stuff, I've had many years under my belt to kind of formulate patterns and strategies about creating content. Now it's just taking good ideas and infusing it into those processes. So right. My time frame can be anywhere from an hour a day to like a full 16-hour, 20-hour day. If it's like super swampy and busy, I got so much going on, and I'm including my other stuff with that too. So that being said, I mean, right now it's about grinding, and I'm willing to put in the time and the effort. And obviously, we're getting, now that we're doing the viral video stuff, and it's been in these phases and increments, right, to prove out that we can do this. And now that we're going to have this content network, it's starting to hit, dude. And I'm really excited about it. We bring in sponsors and potentially investors and things like that. It's just going to keep growing even more.
Well, it is. It's been awesome. I've really enjoyed it. This has been one of the most fun things that I've got to be a part of, and I've really enjoyed it. It's been awesome.
Dude, I appreciate that, man. So, okay, wrapping it up here, last question. If you could turn back the time and talk to your 18-year-old self, so I kind of mentioned that a minute ago inadvertently, what would you tell him?
Man, I would tell him this. It's funny that you even say this because I've thought about it before. But I would go and I would literally set myself down and be like, listen, 1 foot in front of the other, put 1 foot in front of the other every day. Don't beat yourself up, and don't be too hard on yourself. Have grace. Because I am so, even to this day, I've gotten a lot better, but I still beat myself up so much on certain things. And it really is just this innate competitive drive that I have. And it really is, look, you can only do your best. The second piece of advice I give myself literally is don't compare yourself to everybody else. Compare yourself to what you did the day before. Did you do more? Did you do less? Were you more productive? Did you do better? I think the biggest problem for most people is that we're our own worst critic, and we always beat ourselves up. We also defeat ourselves because of that. But then that second piece of advice, there's so much you can do if you're not focused on everyone else. Truly. And some of the best growth moments I've had in business was when I stopped caring about everybody else. I was like, I'm just going to do my thing. I'm going to figure it out on my own. I'm going to do my own thing. People now to this day, they wait for me to put something out, and then they copy me. It's the same in the basketball world. I can put something out and everybody, like even in gyms, like if I go into a gym and there's other courts and other coaches, I have coaches who will come up to me in my own program and they'll be like, Coach, look around the gym real quick. And I look around and all the parents on these other courts are watching, the kids, even the coaches. And then I come to the practice the next day and everybody's doing the stuff I was making my kids do. And people have asked me, you know, don't you get upset? Doesn't that infuriate you? They're stealing your stuff. I'm like, listen, you can't steal anything. Like somebody's thought of this. Some of the stuff I've seen other people do. You know, some of it, yeah, I figured it out on my own. But listen, it's not rocket science. It's basketball. Somebody else somewhere else is doing the same stuff. So it's not mine. I didn't copyright it. But yeah, definitely.
So I think if I was looking at my, I think about this all the time because I feel like I'm 18 again for some reason. I'm almost 50, so I'm almost 10 years older than you. But I've gone through a bit of a transformation. Somebody's like, "Oh, how's your midlife crisis going?" And I'm like, "Midlife crisis? This is like, there's no crisis here. This is midlife opportunity, bitches. I'm fucking rocking this shit." So anyway, that's my attitude. And I would have told my 18-year-old self, go for it, dude. Pretend like you're 50 when you're 18. Pretend like you're 70 when you're 18 and just balls to the wall. Just go for it. Don't even think about the ramifications. Obviously, you don't want to hurt people. You don't want to steal things and all that morality stuff. But in the context of grinding it out and working and trying to create and be something, all these people that play video games all day long and smoke dope, and it's just like, dude, what are you waiting for? Get to it. You may think like you're young, you got eternity, but bro, let me tell you, like I would just, and I kind of already been that way, but now I think about it, it's like, you know, if I was counseling a young guy coming up, I'd just be like, dude, you just gotta freaking rock it, man. Just go for it, and don't even hold back.
100%. I mean, that's why it's only the top 5-10% of people that really are successful in life, right? Because there's only 5 to 10% of people that are willing to do what you just said. You know, and going back to even your podcaster thing, for those of you that are podcasters and are watching this, listen to the words of wisdom from this guy. Grind. Look, you can have fun later, right? You have plenty of time. There's always going to be a party. There's always going to be a party. I promise you. There's always going to be drugs. There's always going to be drinking. There's always going to be distractions. There's always going to be other things. But when you start down the road of instant gratification, that's a dangerous place to be. And that's why 90% of people, 95% of people don't truly achieve their dreams. You know, and the one thing I will say is my favorite thing that Kobe ever said was, it's not about the game highlights you see on ESPN or when I'm playing the game and I'm doing these wonderful things. That's not the dream. The dream is being in the gym at 2 a.m. when no one else wants to be there. The dream is when you're sick and you get up at 6 a.m. and you go and do your workout and your basketball workout and your weight workout and you train all day. The dream is when nobody's watching you, there's no lights or focus on you, and you're out there doing your work and getting better at your craft. That's the dream. And the same goes to this. I had
the same thought. Honest to God, I was up at 3 a.m. the other day doing the bleacher bums because they come out on Fridays, and I was just swamped the whole week. But I was like, you know what? I'm doing that cast. It's going to be a bomb cast. I'm gonna put it out there, and I'm gonna get lots of people to watch it.
That's right.
And you know what? I was tired as hell the next day, but it was so gratifying. And that's the thing I'd be telling that 18-year-old self is like, bruh, the grind is really the fun part. You may not understand that, but it is the fun part that you're talking about. It's what Kobe's, doing free throws at middle, 2 in the morning, practicing, no one's around to give you adulation and then attaboys, attagirls or whatever. Dude, that's the best part because you're like, I knew what it took to get there, bro.
Yeah, and that's what it boils down to. For those that want to be successful, you gotta put it in, man. Like, there's no other way to put it, And I will say that grinding is definitely important, but don't just grind hard, because I got myself in that hole. I grinded hard. I grinded harder than anybody else. And yes, there was some success in it, but when you combine grinding hard with grinding smart, that is when you will elevate to a level that most people won't achieve.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, look where you're at. Look where we're at right now because of it. So anyway, listen, Steven, bro, so good to talk to you as always. And then if you wish to, I'm going to cut us off here. Sorry, we both got a jam. But if there's anything that you want to send us through DM, you want to ping us, you got ideas, by all means, hit us up at Social Nostra. You can also watch all the shows at socialnostra.com. Steven's usually on Wednesday night at 6 p.m. I'm kind of scattered here and there. I'm going to be popping in more now that I'm kind of getting back to it. Check us out, and we'll look forward to seeing you soon.
Have a good night, everybody, or have a good day, or whenever you're watching us. Thank you so much. Thank you, Kevin. Love you, man. Have a great, great evening. I'll see you later on.
All right, brother. I'll talk to you later, man. We'll see you.